7 years since inception, how has InvestKL delivered on its mandate to attract large global multinationals such as Fortune 500 and Forbes 2000 companies to invest in Greater Kuala Lumpur? I speak to InvestKL CEO Datuk Zainal Amanshah for an idea of where they sit on their deliverables and how, if at all, the narrative has changed in these fast-moving global times.
Datuk, we've talked many times through the years. It's been 7 years since our since our first interaction. If anything, how has the narrative about Greater KL changed since 2011?
First of all, Chung, thanks for having me. Well, the narrative, I believe we've grown from strength to strength. The track record has continued to grow in terms of numbers of good quality MNCs from all over the world. The activities also that they're having here, it's in line with what our government is looking for, high-skill kind of investments, high-skilled jobs, high-value investments. So that those numbers have grown. And of course, the reasons also and the believability factor of the KL proposition. We have a lot more case studies now that we can relate to our MNCs.
In terms of the messaging that you deliver to potential investees, obviously in the past you've done a lot of regional headquarters and business processing, back-end operations. And I think in the past few years also maybe the energy sector might have fallen off a little bit. So how have your guys gone up to the world and told them what Greater KL is all about? Has it changed that narrative?
In a way it has. When you talk about the energy sector, we found a little niche there because these companies were pressured by cost. So many relocated from other locations into Kuala Lumpur, not purely because of cost, because of our ecosystem, talent. They want to be closer to PETRONAS, for example. When it comes to other reasons also why they have come in, as I mentioned just now, they look at track record, they look at what other companies have done, and the kind of activities, it used to be, like you say, shared services, but now a lot more headquarters. And because of the digital and e-commerce space, you see regional distribution centers, regional supply chain hubs also in KL. So the mix or the type of regional hubs here, there are a lot more different flavors to it now.
I mean, certainly from a policy macro standpoint, the government seems to be doing a few things in that direction. Obviously, the Alibaba Jack Ma Digital Free Trade Zone would be one. The high-speed rail initiative would be another. East Coast Railing, MRT. So in terms of logistics, in terms of transport, quite a lot of stuff. But has it translated to on-ground deliverables for yourselves?
It has, from two perspectives. Number one, those players who are participating in those game-changing infrastructure projects, we will talk to them and encourage them to have their hubs here. Why not? They are participating in the projects. There are other projects in the region, so why not have a hub here? Secondly, in terms of strengthening the proposition of KL vis-a-vis connectivity, people used to complain about jams and taxis and whatnot. Now, no more complaints about taxis because they can use a lot of the ride-sharing services, for example. People can move around using our MRT, a lot of connectivity into the region also, the tier 1 carriers and the low-cost carriers. So all this has actually added to the strength of Kuala Lumpur and our proposition as a regional hub.
Well, then equally, of course, the industry that I work in, the media, sometimes we carry a message that is less than rosy. There's always, headlines about graft potentially, rising costs potentially, tax policies potentially. Does that play into the minds of investors when you talk to them? How does it change the narrative for you guys?
Well, those points are always part and parcel of their evaluation checklist for sure. But what we encourage them to do is always to come to the ground, engage with us where we can provide clarity, make a decision based on facts and not on perception. That works very well. So when these companies come to the ground, they interact with the companies, what's their experience here, we can open the doors to meet any of our decision makers, have that very clear conversation with them. They come, they observe, they see the infrastructure. So seeing is believing, which is a key ingredient of our go-to-market.
So obviously you're 73 investees into 100, obviously milestone. That's another, what, 27 to go, Datuk. Where are you in terms of this timetable, in terms of your completing this timetable, potentially?
Yeah, well, there are two components to that. Number one is, of course, meeting the KPI. We're at 73, 27, more to go. We've got to actually continue the momentum, continue to work hard.
Okay, and from strategy, a strategy perspective, you've got 27 companies to go to fill your target of 100 companies, Datuk. Has it changed in terms of the focus, the sectoral focus? Or is it really from, I guess, the vertical itself and what kind of sectors you're looking at within the vertical?
Yeah, well, by and large, it's similar, except I would comment that the digital space now allows us to go back to these multinationals and have a different sort of conversation. You know, a company like in the financial sector, they've got a banking license and they are already set up here and in the region. So we go back and discuss about digital innovation, insurance sector likewise. So across industries, it has opened up a whole new set of opportunities for us to engage. But if you look at certain sectors as well, there are challenges, there are also opportunities. What happens globally too, in the US, in Europe, with China, challenges and also opportunities. So we try and leverage on the opportunities and see how we can work with the MNCs.